Afternoon. My name is Supreme Apostle Bathsheba. I am Supreme Apostle of the Supreme Lord Jesus Christ in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, centered in Salt Lake City in Utah, in U.S. I present the Supreme Apostle Bathsheba as one of the Supreme Apostles of the Supreme Lord Jesus Christ. I'm working on a project. According to the plan that I, Supreme Apostle Bathsheba, am working on, and Supreme Apostle Supreme Lord Jesus Christ, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints supposed to be translated to heaven's glory of the Most High Heavens, the glory of Supreme Elohim and Supreme Yahweh, or translated into the glory of our God, and ascending into the presence of Supreme Elohim and Supreme Yahweh. About now, so in about these 10 years of the century, we have now 2014. It's 11th of September. And this broadcast is from London, from royal capital of England. We have President Thomas Benson, also president of his presidency, and we actually realized that although President Thomas Benson knows that there are many members in Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that would like to be translated to heaven's glory and ascend to highest heaven at this time. President Monson was not mentioning a general conference in the last, let's say, approximately 40 years, as President Thomas Monson was the general authority, was not yet mentioning that. So it seems like if President Thomas wanted to prohibit ascension into heaven, so that's what we would like to have changed. So like the President Thomas Monson is changing, especially now in this time of general conference. We have already September 11th, 2014. Actually, apologizing for any inconvenience there. President Thomas Johnson, he is the president for his presidency, but who was getting him there by the agreement of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ? This we're not quite sure. So we would like to abstain also from stating how can we persuade the room of carpentry not to do sneezing to us. We actually maybe mob here. So what can help us to ascend to heaven in this modern times of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ? In the Supreme Lord Jesus Christ time of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ, we maybe emphasizing the translation to heaven's glory and ascends to heaven. Now, is there any doctrine or any story about Supreme Lord Jesus Christ that can help us to emphasize the ascension to heaven? Or why would not everyone that is disciple of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ desire to bring atonement to crucifixion or Gethsemane, sense of poisoning or illness? The source of oil press there was reportedly, according to evangelists and Bible, choice of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ. The Supreme Lord Jesus Christ had chosen himself to atone to sorts of sin, sorts of euthanasia or sorts of self-mord that Jesus Christ was eventually reportedly experienced. So we now planning something better. We're planning that we might accept Supreme Lord Jesus Christ as the one that fulfilled in Jesus Christ as a fulfillment of all the sacrifices and atonements and all these atoning sacrifices or the self-morts or morts. Let us now believe that we can be forgiven and can be translating to heaven's glory and ascending into highest heaven. That's possible if we emphasize, for instance, the transfiguration of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ. The Supreme Lord Jesus Christ was transfigured on the mount, and is that emphasized on general conferences in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I went through manuals personally as an elder squad member in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I ever was having calling to serve a full-time proselytizing mission. I received certificate service honored by President Kingsley and President Manwaring. I was absolving some classes of Institute of Religion in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and received certificates in about 3 countries. If we count Czech and Slovak, 3 countries, right? And then come to England, yes, together 3 countries. Hopefully in Germany I could too, slowly I could, but maybe I couldn't. I didn't receive there any. but I received the certificate to the honor by President Manuel and other certificates, the patriarch a blessing by humble state patriarch. So I think myself that I, as a patriarch of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ, there is also elder, and what we can learn about the remarks of Joseph Smith as inspired leader, as one of the former first presidents in first presidency. Now it's coming time that I, Supreme Apostle Baksha Eva, will be elected as Supreme President in and over the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Saints. So we need to be saved from Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Saints. We need to ascend to highest heaven. And the event of Transfiguration of Jesus Christ, maybe in the time as Alpazai, it meant so much more. I hope even the President Thomas Spencer Monson will mention the event of Transfiguration Summit offers. I so far could find Transfiguration as important from all manuals that in Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Saints are available, historical and modern manuals, only once I've seen an emphasis on transformation of Jesus Christ, and it was also not the main emphasis, just one of the main emphasis in manual by Boyd K. Parker about the temple. Boyd K. Parker was ever acting president of Quorum's Apostles. Now he was eventually elected to be a president of Quorum's Apostles. And this emphasis is nice. So I think Boyd K. Parker, I think that is nice to emphasize. But as we go through the talks of President Boyd K. Parker at General Conference, there we again can see that President Boyd K. Parker was not much about transfiguration. Also, that's already great fault. So we need to ask that we will see anything positive in President Thomas and Simon's on that he was, for instance, permitted people to have a name if they have but we need to also get really perfect. I mean, we cannot see only that what is perfect. If you want to really be perfect, so we need to see mainly that was perfect, is emphasizing, and then we need to see where we really are and how can we get there to the highest degree of celestial glory. How can we be perfect as Heavenly Father is perfect? And it is possible with me, with Supreme Apostle Baksha, as I am aspiring to be president in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Center in Salt Lake City, so I might have presidency and maybe pictured above the general boards. Each time, as a whole, all general boards are pictured always with me above as the most glorious and most supreme representative of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ and president over the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Why? Because I am desiring the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to translate to heaven's glory and to ascend to heaven approximately in age 33, possible in age 23, as Jesus Christ might grant us 10 years earlier as semi-annual measure might be 20, and I was 2000. So by some coincidence, we might said that if a person is 23, it cannot ascend to heaven. Because we experienced the other President Monson lowered the age border or age for MTC for mission training center and for full-time proselytizing missions from 19 for males to 18 and from 21 for females to 19. I believe they are really great joy. They are missionaries that serve full-time proselytizing mission can ascend into highest heaven at age 21. As Jesus was 3 years in mission. It may also happen that we might have full-time proselytizing missionaries ascending to heaven only after just a few months of serving. So it may be that while they was named for 3 years or for 2 years, they can already after 1 month or while they're at MTC or just at the time as they already about to go to serve mission. Also, teenagers may ascend to heaven, and they don't need to be age 19 or 18, and maybe only 17 or 16 that they might ascend to heaven. You see, I'm really much more generous, much more glorious there, President Thomas Monson. And it is not any sorts of generosity that I'll give you a larger cake or more chicken or more temptation to get to pornography, or that I will give you more temptation to abstain from wedding even that you are in age to lawfully marry. So I'm actually permitting open celestial marriages. I believe that as males, so females, as Jesus Christ, I mean, with Supreme Lord Jesus Christ, with Supreme Lord Him, be out to ascend to heaven as members of the Church of Jesus Christ, the Lord of Saints. And what can help us? So we said that the emphasis transfiguration of Jesus Christ. Jesus was 33 as he really ascend to heaven, how can we help one another to know? How can we testify to one another that Jesus Christ really ascend to heaven? Yes, it is important to testify to one another about ascension of Jesus Christ, to smile on each other, maybe much better than to have any sorts of other face. Even the concentration might seem to be possible only if you not smile, but I believe there are also those who smiling can have concentration. So until we get a better light, I ask that you will forgive me. We have the light that we have, and well, why would we maybe also confessing that I'm now in thank you online. I maybe show you a scale of ranks. No, that not, but we'll get better light later. Until that time, let us think whether we may be uh, protagonists or advocates of those that would like to ascend to heaven, especially those that would like to be also celestially married and have children. So how can those that are marriage couples ascend to heaven if they ask to begotten their child? Who will care for child? This question are easy to be answered. It is really better for children if their parents are standing straight after birth or just while after birth. If we have really glorious and even perfectly glorious setting for child care. So would that be nice to know that Jesus, a stepfather, ascend to heaven, as we all would like to be adopted to Supreme Elohim, the not only begotten flesh of Him of Jesus Christ, but also each one of us to be adopted as only begotten flesh. So we might think of each other not only with any other attitude as that we are really the most glorious friends to be together, and that we are really of that word as only begotten flesh. And our step parents, they are biochemically was maybe more helping to begot us, to begot our bodies, um, that the spirit might have space, can ascend to heaven. And that's what I think it's beautiful to grow with that vision or in that vision. The children can grow also in kindergarten with just childcare that are glorious is possible. Um, Otherwise, we can ascend also in age that is higher. I'm also wishing that President Thomas Monson my place in this semi-annual general conference in October or September, October 2014, that as a subject of ascension, it is necessity. So if he doesn't, he is actually greatly antichrist until now, that he was not yet setting a special assembly in between general conference that Supreme Apostle about to want to ascend. So Antichrist Thomas Vincent Monson had been identified as three antichrists guiding the church need to repent. We need to have also in the temple of the Lord some less of Satanism. If Satanists are masked in white clothing or in such cloth of Christianity, might not easy to discover, especially for children and for youth that are not very experienced, but it is with the soul that President Thomas and Simon is so far death, and we need to ask that President Thomas and Simon more Christian, Simon more life. Even some are smiling at me, it is nice that President doesn't want to kill people as they're young, as children or youth, or early as they're already grown up, in the 20s or 30s. But was mostly killing those who are around age 100 or 200. So 200 he was not committing. So we now remember the photography as President Monson was Summer Enzyme pictured with someone who was member of the Church of Jesus Christ 11 cents and was already 107 years. But how long the person was living, I hope until now, but if not, we need to ask President Monson, what is there? What is there that President Monson does in the church that death is so strong? There, since Joseph Smith, there was no one reportedly ascending to highest heaven. So if any Greeks was ascending to highest heaven or any Turkeys, they had there in Ephesus or somewhere a branch in town of Paul. If Paul ascended to heaven, aren't we better than Paul? Shall we not be better than Apostle Paul? Yes, of course we shall better. Jesus stating we shall be as Jesus or even better. So let's say that if Paul was better than Jesus, we shall soon be even better than Paul. We have it now easier. It is really easy for Christianity. Please. It needs to be easy, especially for those who serve with honor, especially those who are European looking. I see on board there are so many African faces. If they're having easy in Christianity, will not be that each that is of white European look shall not have easy. Is it not that Jesus Christ seen us in secret in pre-existence and invited us openly? So I want there is love also to Africans and also to other races. I want they does believe that they can ascend to heaven, but please, at least Europeans, to have that right here. So what can we do with first presidents if they wanted flesh, and if they want to kill animals in the church farms, and if they does war? They name it war chief, call it chiefs, and then they eating blood of animals, and then they go into war somewhere with their killers, and they killing their. So that's what need to also change. So let us now think of Hollywood. Would that not be a better director, even Super Apostle Baksha, as those directors of Hollywood that are protecting some sorts of sinful and fallen nature of Joseph Smith that as a lazy sort of blossom lays down in the earth under the level of Mississippi River. And if we lay down for 8 hours, but Joseph Smith is officially reportedly laying down there as a lazy blossom already for about 150 years. And Brigham Young has got even Brigham Young University, many other honors. How he is, how Brigham Young is he not laying down blossom under the level of the Twin Peaks, the evil such? So my name is Stephen Apostle Baksha, evil. I am as I am, and I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that we shall be translated to heaven's glory and to ascend to heaven, and that we shall help one another to emphasize the transfiguration of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ and ascension of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ as a perfect example for us. I believe that we shall smile on each other, to help one another to lawfully marry and to ascend males and females, marriage couples and families to high heaven. I believe that also children can ascend as they are members of the Church of Jesus Christ, let us say. And I believe that Jesus Christ can name members of the Church of Jesus Christ, let us say, whomever he wants from heaven. And that we shall explain and persuade Lord Jesus Christ that we might have such thoughts, that we should not believe in prophecy very much. Prophecy is helpful, but we shall use the tool as spirit of prophecy is only a tool to reach the quality of perfection of charity. So charity is exceeding prophecy. So there is something likewise written on the seal logo of the Religious Society of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Saints. And I believe that if we check logos and posters of young women in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Saints, it is sorts of same logo or same seal. Thus, therefore, look forward, brothers and sisters, that the temple will have some more quality and vegan refreshments. For if I am always tempted from childhood on anything else as vegan refreshments, it might likely happen that I'll eat anything else as vegan refreshments. And if this vegan refreshment and non-vegan refreshments are flesh and blood of animals like chicken, pork, beef, or hot drinks that we can find also in the temples of Jesus Christ as well as saints within. So therefore, I believe that if President is publishing such sorts of stories by his publishers, by his own publishers, there's a camera at the endowment room and YouTube publish, and the whole endowment session or part-time endowment session or maybe ceiling session is featured there. So I believe that we rather, it might be published, what can we do if there's Monson does so as someone holds the fullness of the keys, but would it not be better if we have them? It surely will be better if we have vegan nutritionists in the temple cafeterias, Brigham Young University cafeterias, missionary training centers in those cafeterias, vegan nutrition. We have now reached a generous number of alternatives that are tasty and very high quality. We can have also members of the Church of Jesus Christ, as well as saints, providing such vegan alternatives to any sorts of flesh or blood of animals that are vegan. So let us now understand the word vegan as a nice word. It doesn't necessarily mean if somebody's vegan, they may need to be porn star or may need to be a sniper somewhere in Afghanistan with the American flag at the heart is really killing Afghan or killing Iraqis and therefore is vegan. So we can be vegans as a normality. We can have veganism as our choice of just a peaceful existence, and we can also have peaceful existence if we just think sometimes to learn from the past, to live in the present, to prepare in charity for the future ascensions, to place the name of Christ in our or has them into plan Ascension now, that we now can ascend. And let us believe that I also may ascend, and let us summarize how can we influence politically the American Constitution of the United States of America because of the great influence that American Constitution and American militaries have around the world, also in Europe, if it is in Britain, but especially in Germany and Italy and in Yugoslavia. We have plenty of American soldiers with their modern weaponry systems. We have also American fleets of the United States of America around the European Union, guarding European Union, but also political influencing, and influence was so far not as quality as it could be. And therefore, I believe that we shall look forward to have that somewhat nicer. And that's possible if I am president of this presidency, if I'm president of the United States of America, and I'm aspiring candidating according to my best knowledge and ability. As I'm Slovak citizen and Slovak national, I thought it would be nice if we add to United States of America also Slovak Republic. It is now much easier as the First World War by United States of America was actually setting Slovakia asunder with Germans and with Austrians, and then the Second World War was actually weakening the relationship with Czechs, and the Cold War was completely setting the relationship with Czech asunder. So the relationship with Czechs is still strong, but far not as strong. And our relationship with America seems even stronger. So let us therefore set Slovaks as those that love God first with all the heart, mind, and strength. That remember that Slovak language was firstly constituted by Constantine Method, that was a priest and learned man that believed in Jesus Christ and came up from Thessaloniki or Salon or somewhere near Ephesus, maybe between Ephesus and Thessaloniki. Somewhere there was a village or a town where Constantine Method constituted the first Slovak language, Lawfully. It was also written, and Bible was also written in the language approximately 863 of our counting since Lord Jesus Christ. And now we have here the other language of Benelux. Slovaks was constituting Benelux was constituting for Slovaks, and there was Catholic priest. Benelux was organizing language according to Western dialect of Bratislava and Malacky and approximately that area of Western Slovakia. Now, this modern language according to Central Slovak, the approximately Liptov area of the upper um, uh, banks of the river Hron, according to Ludovic Stur. The language was according to this priest of the Evangelical Church of Reform Catholics. So again, we see that the Slovaks are really people of Christ, the languages of Christ. So it's very beautiful language, beautiful resource for formulation in English language. And I also recognize that Czechs are really the same. They really are Christians. They believe in Jesus Christ. And also the Americans was sort of with French together and with Soviets bringing Czechs and Slovaks onto communism by the Second World War and weakening the relationships of Slovaks, Czechs, and Poland, as well as Yugoslavia was attacked also after Cold War. According to the news that we received, I was not there, but I've seen some Yugoslavian, and we've seen that the influence of America and United States of America in Yugoslavia was not only as perfect as it ought to be, and therefore I plead that although they might see this movie might be helpful, the Slovaks and the neighbors and the close relatives might be somewhat more blessed. We might have some sorts of Salt Lake City of Slovakia. Even the Salt Lake City might be only 2-3 million. I believe the Slovaks might be also 50 million, and the architecture will be really glorious, and there will be still plenty of space in the valleys for fields, that there will be plenty of industry in the mountains, up on the rocks, where it might not be as easy to get trees growing, or if they're growing, it might not be as easy to really get them into change into the materials for use, because it is actually sort of protective forest that the mount is not accessible by the roads, or the roads cannot get that actually are not leading to such a steep mountain. So I thought that we might have the right houses and maybe some small gardens or terraces or tunnel. So I believe that we can have at least industry place there, or maybe also houses that might be beautiful up on a rock. So the valleys will be available for agriculture mainly. So now with that we can find out how can we have the vegan orders. That's number 5. So first we will set in the American Constitution paragraph 1 as transfiguration, ascension of technology describes our translation to heaven's glory and our ascension to highest heaven. Second, there was the option that we might have some more of wedding and marriage. So I found in age 33 and also 34, and now I'm about to have 35th birthday anniversary, 35th, and I found it until now not as easy to get a wedding, and I was striving really with all my heart and mind and strength, and I could not get to wedding. So official legal wedding of mine was not getting, and if anybody thinks that I was absolutely chased, not true. I was really striving to chase at least since year 2000, as I was about to realize with missionaries in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, chastity is some sort of necessity. So I was asking to be chaste, and I was at least 6 years really exceedingly, almost perfectly chaste. In as perfectly that we can say that not almost perfect, that was really a perfect chastity. So I, since 2011, have some more of regarding English language. Just please explain interpreted to the most perfect ability of ours to say that hardship is actually not too hard and not to be cheap at all. So that's we just would like to have someone easier, lighter, softer, and someone more wedding-like. So that's the second paragraph in the American Constitution that we would like to have. Third paragraph in the American Constitution, to have many children born, especially to protect the beauty of the white race, the white family of white people. As I realized that now there's American president in Africa, and there's lots of Chinese influence, Japanese, and I realized that the white race is sort of being in some sorts of help me to formulate. So that we actually losing white race. All the white people look strikingly as Chinese or as Africans or as Hindus, and that's I think there's something wrong there is the mind of presidents and leaders of politicians that they want to mix the races together. So the beauty of the white European race is sort of in the reality of that we're losing this race. So let us therefore see towards future that we might have some more blonde, some more blue-eyed, some more white-skinned, and they don't look like Chinese or Japanese. Even there, I believe the Chinese Japanese can also look somewhat nicer, but just imagine if Hindus and Africans will invade China, and all Chinese will look like African Hindus that are quite black or dark brown or brown. Would Chinese not be somewhat angry? Now, and that's what we have in Europe and America, that European race is somewhat lost. Also, numbers are somewhat of few. And the beauty and the purity also is lost. So I believe that we shall now help one another to be more beautiful. Let us remember how it was written in the Old Testament and how Jesus had it in New Testament towards future, that he was actually relating Jews to European Greeks. Jesus was surrounding himself by Romans that was also quite white. And if there was any African, they could be only slaves. And if there was a free African, that was really only like 1 or 2 per year or less. And there was advice at that time to turn to Africa rather. As we know, that Jesus Christ had most of the Africans, like 99% of Africans was at that time in Africa, and 99% of Chinese was in China, and 99% or 99% of those Hindus, it looks like Hindus that are also quite dark or relatively dark, or looks specifically as the Hindus. It was also somewhere in India, and we actually not saying anything else as love and order of Jesus Christ. We learn how Jesus Christ had it. I'm not saying that all shall only walk or only run as it was in the time of Jesus Christ. They were using only very few carriages. We can have modern carriages, large coaches. I believe that it is correct to have modernization, but at the same time, some rules regarding this some sort of genetical purity or genetical beauty we shall keep, and Jesus Christ revealed how. So let us say that it is not hatred to ask Africans somehow peacefully and maybe orderly to return to Africa, and it is not hatred to ask the Chinese to return to China and staying there, so that those who look in white and European can protect their beauty and some rules at least need to be set regarding employment, procreation powers, and families and weddings and marriages. So we might have numbers of beautiful. I'm sure that it has been counted with before, but I'm looking forward to marriage. So if there will be anyone that feels the Holy Ghost regarding me, please, I'm willing to marry anybody that looks approximately as well. Now these women all married, so who can we set an example? I remember that she's already married, but there was one that was looking quite sympathetic to me. She's now married with somebody else, but she's celebrity. So let's say that my wife will look approximately as one of the new era celebrities of the magazine of new era of young men and young women in youth in Jesus Christ since October 2007. It was such image and cover story of new era magazine. So approximately some are better because my wife needs to like see this model of the United States of America, the American Consumer 2008 research convention. So we congratulating all those who married recently, and now I thought that we can find my wife. It's so easy. We exactly know how she has to look and what qualities she needs to have. Exceeding woman. Now, first was the transfiguration of Supreme Jesus Christ, Ascension of Supreme Jesus Christ to heaven. With that, state in first paragraph in American Constitution, European Constitution, Russian Constitution, of Russian Federation, I thought that them also be included into that team, into our team of Jesus Christ to ascend to heaven. So it's also like Eurovision together with Euro-American vision of ascension to heaven. 144,000 of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints per hour to ascend into highest heaven. We have already invitations also to Vatican, to Catholic Church, and to Reform national churches, if it is German National Reformed Church, or Denmark, or Sweden, Norway. All these national churches inviting to Church of Jesus Christ, Lord, send the man of ascension to heaven. President Thomas and Moses so far it was not as possible, but it may be very easily possible that we might establish such a glorious peace as Miroslav or Slavomir that we need to ascend to highest heaven. So what can be the second was weddings, marriages to be lawful. Maybe we might not prohibit plural weddings and marriages. There was such a swearing that a plural wedding and plural marriage that it is a polygamy and that is condemned or prohibited. So that's what I thought that we might not have. Then we might have permission that some males, if they found females they would like to stay with them, may have, but it needs to be orderly and it needs to be understood as honor to God and to all men. As we remember that Jesus Christ is great Yahweh and was influencing in the Old Testament up to the very specific and they had glorious, and we know that some of the fathers of Jesus Christ, they was great kings, and they could have some more wives. So we know that David was father of Jesus in line, so one of the fathers of Jesus through this Mary line, so mother. So also Solomon through mother, as Jesus Christ was only begotten flesh, so only one person. But if we ask Jesus, we can have same rights as the only begotten flesh. He's equalizing, he's really loving, can rely upon him. So let us now look forward to find out if first presidents and quorum apostles in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Saints are really worthy, if they're not really unworthy. Because if unworthy people that are very wicked are in high place, it might be war, for instance, in 1989 in Iraq, or in 2001 in Afghanistan, or the World Trade Center in 2000 might be still there, but in 2001 might be already down, and it could happen that any hurricane could occur somewhere near Florida, sometimes in 2004 or 2005. There was named Katrina, and it could be many killed there. So I just thought that we rather to keep the commandments of Lord Jesus Christ, that we might have only the most glorious experiences. I want to marry, so please during wedding. My wife, it can be also such wife that is really glorious, is exceeding top models of North America, like those who was cover story in 2007 October in the New Era magazine of produced Church of Jesus Christ Lessons. Now, to have children, many to begot children, that is paragraph 3. Paragraph 4, we thought to have they might have dominions. So dominions, they are such a tremendousness. Many say holiness, it's great glory. So we realize in this modern time that if we does plenty of instructions, plenty of education, if we edify and place in school a greater number of people, the community and society is more glorious. But now we also realize that if all want to govern, that maybe also not the best. So we need to have order in Dominion, and I think that as we have president of first president, some of them was 10 years in the office. I don't think that it's right. So I think that the right is the president of first presidency will be in office of first presidency only necessary law. And some say that, but it necessarily long is 35 years, and that is really not. So we shall be in office of president of first presidency not longer than 1 year. So half year or few months is far enough. We just need to make sure that those who are in corner of first presidency, that they'll set the law and the constitution of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that it's not yet set. I mean, we have so many policies that it's actually sort of chaos, and that chaos, first presidents and court of apostles is proclaiming, declaring that Jesus Christ reigneth, and the flesh in the farms of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is blessed, and is a blessing upon all who eating the flesh and blood of animals in empty sea, because if there was a vegan eating, who knows where there was ending, maybe in pornography. And such similar sayings sounding like somewhere in the Second World War at the end, as people in tanks from the Soviet Union went to Germany, and Germans around on in tanks and on tanks was trying to defend Berlin, and Americans with British and French and other nations was from the Western Front or from any direction that they could get upon Berlin with the tanks. And so there was not online at all, but really, and many lies were spread on their ways and their convoys of tanks that they went according to first presidency of Jesus Christ as they already obtained the government. And now, are they restituting? Is President Thomas Wilson an attitude to restitute after this sorts of imperfect wars that they were causing by organizing the church farms in Utah and eating flesh and blood of animals? Like if there was no Old Testament, like if Jesus Christ was clearly not explaining that we shall partake of bread and wine or bread and water or bread and juice. I believe that it's very clear that Jesus Christ wanted us to be vegans. That present moment shall not make from some sorts of unleavened bread, leavened bread, and from leavened bread, even pork pie or beef pie or chicken pie. So we need to be sure that we know how. So we know how we planning to have ascension into heaven, and we know that if we just silently somewhere in the corner of of any other entertainment, if it's boxing or porno, or if it is Satanism or different sort of antichrist qualities of politics that we met, we've seen, they are published in television as honorable and are not honorable. They are not good for people. And it is also with this bloodthirsty Thomas Spencer Monzon that does lots of farming of the church because it's tradition in church and saying it could be much worse. We could also children. And that's what this Monzon is really publishing a spoken word. Yeah, it could be worse. And music and spoken word in conferences of Jesus Christ Lord said that's really band of criminals. So and how can we? And they say they're chosen band of Jesus, and they still victoriously winning this sorts of competition who will be presidents in all the kingdom of heaven on earth, and all nations seemingly agree and are killing themselves. I recently was hearing about Ukraine and Moscow because they was not involved in United States of America to attack the countries as United States of America. But it was coordinating secretly with the United States of America, and I realized they found themselves in some sorts of tangent. And I actually cannot speak more about Ukraine, but it was seeming that this Christian country had something like a civil tangent. That was civilian was actually in sorts of contention and questions with government, and Russia intervened in Ukraine. So Russian soldiers went to Ukraine and was eventually claiming part of the Ukraine to be Russia again. And I'm saying that I want really Russians and Ukrainians Christians, and I want them to be really happy with Jesus Christ, and that might have ascension to heaven. They are actually bordering, Ukraine is bordering with European Union and with Slovaks too. I live in England, but I think that also English politicians can have better attitudes, and we need them to repent and to believe in Jesus Christ and to ascend to heaven. And we also need that the voters have finally the permission of local monarchs to choose Christianity, and not only conservatives, not only liberals or liberal Democrats, or whom else do we have? How to find out Green Party. So we have some choices, but I think that Christianity shall be main choice. So let us therefore name each political party after Supreme Lord Jesus Christ, where we can have Jesus Christ Party of those that emphasizing environmental or ecological harmony or balance instead of Green Party. As a Green Party, we doesn't really know what they want according to the name, and we doesn't really know what they meant that they have a symbol of planet. But conservatives, we also doesn't really have knowledge what they mean conservative. So many are saying that we perfectly know, but we need to ascend to heaven. So it need to be somewhat that we're not fanatics anymore of conservatives, neither fanatics of liberal Democrats and liberals, neither of Green Party, because fanatics are dying and are bored and decomposed. But that we finally also, because Britain's got influence in European Union, we know that Jürgen Schulz is German, but in Germany there are so many British soldiers and American British soldiers that are English-speaking soldiers that Germany is sort of colony of Britain, or sort of military space where there military control, so like a place of war. And Russians, it was lovely. They withdrew from Germany home, and they was realizing that they need to take beam out of their own eye to see what's in the German eyes, because in between they was becoming Bolsheviks, and that's not Antichrist, neither Satanists as President Thomas Simonson, but it is also some sorts of maybe even atheism, or maybe even some communism that's maybe an angst in the world. It is some sorts of polemics if that is Christianity and communism what was before in Russia. And I believe that it is influential country to the Russians, so we want glory also to Russians, or maybe even mainly to Russians. So I believe that we shall believe in Jesus Christ and we shall help one another to have there some more of an constitutional glory. So we need to get the Constitution done and redo the Constitution of United States of America, of European Union, but also of Russian Federation. So we might have these typically Christian countries of European Union, of Russia, and also this young country, United States of America. That was actually organized to the level of Christianity only with great interruptions. If I remember well, Enoch, according to Joseph Smith Jr., that is buried and decomposed, according to all those messages about Joseph Smith, that Joseph Smith is really dead and did not ascend to heaven, and Brigham and John Luther the Lord and Snow also are dead. So we wish to ascend to heaven, we need to repent from their sins. So it needs to be changed in the Church of Jesus Christ as level of saints, because it is the Church of Jesus Christ. So let's say that also the name of the Church of Jesus Christ needs to be changed. So future name shall be Church of Jesus Christ of our Celestial Ascension. That we want to be of Christ and not of Joseph Smith, and we want to be of Christ and not of Brigham and John and we want EFI music to also have that quality. So if it's EFI music, they shall not sing, I want to grow to be like Joseph, or I want to grow to know Joseph Smith. That's not correct here. So correct him, I want to grow to be like Jesus. And Joseph Smith is not even to mention eventually only very seldom to investigate it. It might be just briefly mentioned there. First, President and Church of Jesus Christ Joseph Smith, but because he was reportedly dead, and I was really told that he was dead, so we shall not emphasize Joseph Smith anymore. If he's told that he's dead, then we shall emphasize Jesus Christ that is living, and otherwise we shall only emphasize our current president, Thomas Bensimon, that is still living. But now, if Thomas Bensimon wants to die, we need to have the order of council at General Conference to replace him, because if he wants to die, he is not a person to preside over all the church. So President Moses needs to literally state if he wants to live, yes, can second pose. Now, if he wants to live, he needs to say how he wants to live. So he needs to literally and specifically state that he wants to live, for instance, 30 years on Earth, and then he wants to ascend to heaven. That is sort of horror or terror to hear that this monk wants to be 30 years on Earth, but because he's already over 80. But maybe that we will suffer there patiently if he says. But so far he doesn't even speak about the matter, or he says only all will die. That prophetic word of president of his presidency. We as prophets need to be charitable. Therefore, we need to say, I would like that some of us are standing. Or I heard of Supreme Apostle Baksha, he was striving as a member of Jesus Christ Saints ASEAN. Therefore, we will not tyrannize anymore by this military Cold War terror of any child from primary that's named Thomas Fitzmaurice is 85 years old and does lots of bordello around the world. In as much as there are military barriers that was not permitting me, according to instruction of Thomas Fitzmaurice, until 2014, to reach Salt Lake City. It's the capital in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where I am absolutely most devoted and most supreme disciple of Jesus Christ in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And here's the constitutional change in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints need to have some sorts of equivalent also in the United States of America, in European Union, in Russian Federation, as we wish to be in absolute harmony while we share the gospel, rather in these traditional Christian places. For the last 1,500 years, for the last 2,000 years in European Union, in Russia, and in the United States of America, we had Christianity, maybe not for most of the years, but in the European Union, it was most of the years. In Greece and Italy, and that's where I thought we therefore need to experience change from these sorts of mistakes of Joseph Smith and Brigham and the Wild West horror and terror of Thomas Spencer Monzon, the Thomas Spencer Monzon is projecting in all the world. We need to now have change, and that would be that first paragraph. Transfiguration, Ascension, or Supreme Jesus Christ, our translation, our ascension, early in this time now. Great number is 144,000 of disciples of Supreme Jesus Christ per hour. Second paragraph, wedding and marriage, celestial, not to persecute those who have more wives, it is to be permitted. I mean, those who have one wife, glorious. Those who have more wives, also glorious. Persecution for those who have more wives, not to be existing. It just needs to be set sure that people will have agency, so they will have agency that doesn't harm others. So it is a good example, for instance, to have 2 or 3 wives. If you compare these gay histories of Elton John or these gay histories of George Michael as public person, I'm not saying that we shall execute Elton John or George Michael, but we live in this world and we hear of George Michael and Elton John and maybe also other gays that are officially reporting themselves as gay or transgender attraction, and that is much greater trouble as if, for instance, Prince Charles or later maybe King Charles or King Philip or Prince Philip, maybe King Philip, the husband of Elizabeth II, will have Elizabeth II as wife, or the Diana, and also the other wife, or Prince Charles maybe now have second wife. So I think that is much more appropriate than if we hear the report that Prince Charles or United States American president wants to have as male also a wife, but it's also male or husband, similar to husband. So that's also what we was experiencing in publicity among public persons, and we remember that was permitted to public persons, and there was not persecuted for that desire. But I think that it is much worse as if reportedly someone had 2 wives or more wives. So this is also one of the subjects that we need to make clear, and it's not made clear, and we can in media and mass media hear about the subject, and it is really upon lawyers and upon judges and constitutional lawyers and constitutional judges to recognize that they really cannot comprehend with me, because I really am of more worth than Elizabeth II, or as Martin Schulz, that is European president, or as if we count president of Russian Federation, cannot comprehend with me. Only Supreme Lord Jesus Christ can comprehend with me. I even am so glorious that I am the one that was reading a translation of Enoch, that was walking with God until God took him to heaven. I was also reading on translation of Moses. After the time, as then Jesus and Moses made a war there was some sorts of tangents only in near Egypt. There's Libya, sometimes in 2011, 2012, we hear that there was some tensions. We are now in 2014. It's 11th of September 2014. We have afternoon, and we're now speaking accurately in this broadcast of this political subject of Supreme Jesus Christ commanding us to ascend into highest heaven at about this time. So how can we be translated to heaven's glory? How can we be churched out? How can we repent from the sins of the first presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? So let us now endow one another. Let us have celestial endowment one another. Let us move to the first paragraph was transfiguration of Supreme Jesus Christ and ascension of Supreme Jesus Christ to heaven, our translation of ascension. Second was wedding, to have order in wedding, to accept Bible as an example for us, to listen to those who are authorized to interpret the Bible, so we might have the most perfect interpretation projected and anchored into the constitution of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that hasn't been yet made. The policies are too many Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Salt Lake City, in Utah, in U.S. I am aspiring to be president of the United Nations, president of Northern Atlantic Organization. We think we have secretaries so far. I said we had president. There was just a meeting of Northern Atlantic Organization in Wales, and I realized the president of Northern Organization doesn't exist. There is only secretary that lives in Denmark. I now remember his name is Secretary Rasmussen. So I thank all these presidents for their work, President of the United Nations, President of Olympic Committee, Israel President. I'm aspiring for all these functions to have one person, as Jesus Christ is one from above. We have all these functions. We can set a control over this person, but it needs to be mild control that helps only to keep the human rights level, as we realize that neither American president, neither president of first presidency, neither United Nations president, neither European president, neither Olympic Committee president, International Olympic Committee president, and it is really related. You will wonder that these shows as celebrities of pop music or celebrities of acting have influence, and therefore they need to be a voice for lawfulness, or they need to look towards the masses, towards the celebrities, or towards future celebrities, or towards those people that are concerned to look for authority of Supreme Jesus Christ, who is authorized to interpret the Bible, and who shall be therefore delivered to be a special counsel as a president or to monarchs, as well as special counsel or special president, even president. So rather such expert as me, the president, as these sorts of semi-experts presidents, they're drinking alcohol, they're eating flesh, and they're saying that that it is really not fanatism to be vegan, neither it is fanatism to abstain from alcohol, but it's really Christ-centered charity to permit to people to be translating to heaven's glory, to be consecrated and set apart or dedicated to Supreme Elohim and Supreme Yahweh, to our Most High God in highest heaven, and to ascend into highest heaven. Now, we have here the subject of wedding, as we said, children. That's where we can also understand that the third paragraph will be about children. We might have many. Now, there was the fourth was the direction dominion. So it is possible in this modern academical system that we have developed as a projection of evolution. We have here a very modern academic system, universities. So I thought that university might be already basic elementary school, earlier in center might be already admitted to university. So we might have some sort of uniformity in education, and there we can administer also dominion. We have already some somewhat of quality, quite high quality, but it is, I think, not even to 1% of that what we ought to reach. So maybe if we separate 1%, if we divide it to 1,000 parts, so we may be not even there, but it might be within 1 or 2 years that we get there, that we get the quality. From that level that where we now, we can already by such a series as me see that it's possible for us to ascend within 1 year into highest heaven, and maybe even in this time. So I plan myself to have many friends, and I believe that even those who was gays and bisexuals, that they can repent and can love now the opposite gender, or that they can be good friends, that they can be enrichment. I just want that we not mixing the doctrines, so we might be doctrinally pure. That to be interpreted that the teachings of Jesus Christ will be our only policy in our minds. So anybody who influences, they say, "I love you," that's fine. Or if they say, "I want to be happy," that's also fine. But if you come already to the specific teachings and specific doctrines, there we need to already check if there's a Christ for if it is just somewhere, generally speaking, in a family or in any company, but if it is Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day, there cannot be already a leader, just anybody that is of Salt Lake City, that was a war hero in Japan, that was killing many Japanese, that was setting to kill enemy, somebody in the Navy like Monzon, Thomas Monzon, and therefore he's president of his presidency, so therefore we can start a tsunami upon Japan, but it was prophesied, wasn't it? So it said, it is not. So we need to make sure that we lovely to God and also to man. I mean, we need to deliver this white race family from this world to heaven. We need to do so now. So we need to have repentance from and not granting dominion to Apostle Bakshi. We need to have some other dominion. So as we stated that President Thomas Mitsumoto to grant to Apostle Bakshi ascension into heaven. President Thomas Mitsumoto is also obligated because he's not just fanatica. He's not to be only sort of dumb or idiot or fanatica, but Thomas Quincy Monson is really to be a celestial charity type of person. Yeah, it's not just sort of local patriots or Nazis of Utah, but Thomas Quincy Monson to be really a celestial charity type of person, president that understands that we cannot oppose one person and his neighbors. Like they really was attacking my neighbors of Slovaks in First World War, Second World War, Cold War, and it need to be that they now believe in Jesus Christ. And Thomas Samuel also believed in Jesus Christ. The reason Thomas Samuel killed his wife, he wanted someone younger, was not married younger, still as a necrophile, still want to marry his wife Francis. And Francis is dead in 2014. Thomas Samuel was killed in 2013. That's a year ago and 3 months. So what will, for instance, this deep, the Bonds and deep, the animals deep, do about her father, that he was so acting towards Apostle Bakshi, but also towards his wife. So we now need to therefore set assured that we will not only alive at least, and then also we administer the same to our neighbors. For instance, my mother, because I am counting myself son of God, so we will not name her mother, but parents both died, also under the influence of Thomas Quincy Monson, and it was reportedly dead both until 2006. That's already 8 years ago, going to be 9 years ago. So let us now think that we shall do something better to our neighbors, that we shall transfer them to heaven, so them as into heaven. And now we hear here these stories of God's Army movie from California that ever Desert Book was arranging. You cannot convert anyone, you cannot save anyone, only Jesus can. So that's nice that we emphasize in Jesus. Really, Jesus is the one that is the authority, and His is the authority and priesthood of God and of Jesus Christ. But it is also true that Jesus Christ can grant us if we ask. Jesus Christ can grant us the authority, can authorize us, some name it either giving keys or bestowing keys. And as we once have this authority, we can translate, we can convert, we can have the authority, then we can do in the name of Jesus Christ and in behalf of God, in behalf of Jesus Christ, as God or as Jesus Christ. Now, we shall help one another to do so. So we was mentioning paragraph 1 to 3, and 4 was dominion. 5 is the vegan source of food. So vegan source of food is one of the options that we can learn in Genesis chapter 1 verse 29, Genesis chapter 2 verse 9 and verse 16, Genesis chapter 3 verses 17, 18, Genesis chapter 4 verses 1 to 4, Genesis chapter 9 verses 3 and 4, Genesis chapter 14 verse 18, eventually verses 18 to 20, and so on. And also, Jesus Christ emphasized vegan food, that he was arranging the sacrament of that sacrament. All knew that it was vegan sacrament, so it was unleavened bread, vegan bread, and vegan wine or vegan juice. So that's very clear. That sacrament, that's how we remember Jesus Christ. So if anybody is vegetarian, easy to forgive, especially if they doesn't have really money. Because some people doesn't really have money, so they live like tenants, or they live by any sorts of renting room or bed and breakfast, and some people doesn't even have proper clothing, only some sorts of like a wedding complete for 2 or 3 pieces of trousers, and maybe they have 10 shirts, but some of them are white as they're supposed to, and some of them are gray or brown as it doesn't supposed to. So sometimes are variable, some not. underwear, maybe five and 4 or 5 pieces, with those old normal vitamin that are intended white. Some older ones, the color is also gray or brown. So that is, I think, yeah, we can get some more wealth to each one, and this is what we out to. That's why vegans, why wise, and we might know how to provide, how to make people rich, so we might have all rich. So all rich is a family name in England. All rich I ever hear of. I think that we shall help one another to be all rich. It is possible to set a minimum, for instance, to keep prices same as they are or lower. In some instances, it's possible lower, and some not. Like if we have value price and basic price, there's not much chances to get lower. But we might still work with those prices that are most exclusive things. We can still set them lower and uniform them somewhat. Uh, that is possible to some degree, actually. And now we think, how can we accomplish? Now I said that we might set a national minimum in the European Union, in the United States of America, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in Russian Federation, and those close to the associated countries or all other countries. Existential minimum by responsibility of the government of the country to be set for instant cash and cash $2 million or 2 million pounds sterling or 2 million euros approximately per week per person. Uh, if there is a national existential minimum by responsibility of the government, it is easy because responsibility is not upon the person, so human rights and basic rights are protected. So that's approximately how I thought that we might see me as a saint. They really shine it. May we think that it is possible to believe, to ascend to heaven. May we think that Jesus Christ will reveal to us the order of himself, the order of the household of heaven. May we help one another, brothers and sisters, to not isolate anyone, but to help one another to teach all this doctrine, to learn all these doctrines by love. Many things that it could not be better as we had, but many things and know that it could be really much better, and if we will concentrate, if we will help one another, we will do much better. So it is the will of Jesus Christ really commanding it, and a constitution in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints need to be done. It needs to be better constitution as the countries have. It needs to be somewhat Christ-centered, Christ-like constitution. And this is what we personally want to say. Regarding the music, we have a musical. President Monzon was administering a musical in London. It is named Book of Mammon musical, and it's really about the people that have a Book of Mammon to be saved from Mammon, and they name themselves sometimes Mammons, and are very interpersonal, like a hormone. So they are sorts of hormones, Mammons, and even Mormons with the Book of Hormone. And this is a musical that we have. It is really about Jesus Christ. He appeared to those missionaries that were sharing the gospel. I actually disagree with myself personally that it is in Africa, because all the musical is situated somewhat in Salt Lake City, and then they are situated in Africa, the missionaries of Salt Lake City, Africa, and then the story is that the Africans did believe in Jesus Christ and was finally or consequently becoming also missionaries, and Jesus Christ therefore appeared to them several times that they was confessing and saved from sin of this world. So I have the authority of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ. I'm authorized, licensed, certified, a disciple of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ, and a priest and reverend and a vicar. So I really am Supreme Apostle also by interpretation, as we have Doctrine and Covenants of Jesus Christ, the letter saints, and Joseph Smith did many things, but did also state that elders are really apostles, and apostles are elders, that it is really the same. That apostles shall not do any such harassment, neither terror, neither chicane, as they hitherto did. But Joseph Smith was warning that that shall not be. So some goodness Joseph Smith had. Brigham Young maybe lost it in this Wild West setting that was given to Brigham Young so much that it became some sort of proud local patriot of the sorts of Nazistic war of Utah. We have the Star Spangled Banner here, also of Utah flag, so it's quite dark blue. And we've seen the beast there of Joseph Smith. No, because Joseph Smith didn't have any such beast. But we've seen there this war beast of Brigham Young and John Soul, More than the snow. We've seen this arrow and spears and the shield of the armor of war. And therefore, how can we persuade uh, all those Utah people that eating flesh and blood of animals really like oppressors. If they press, they should go to Fresno. But Utah, with its children and youth, rather to be granted to Supreme Apostle Barshio, because Supreme Apostle Barshio doesn't really do so much porno to tempt them, as Thomas Muslim did also porno, graphy, and was trying to inflict people with porno and with races to dirtify and to degenerate the white race, European race, and we need to have something much better. So we need to help mainly white Europeans and also the other families and other races to be saved from racism of Elizabeth II, of the woman that names herself Most Excellent Majesty Elizabeth II. So we might have in European Union not only British terror of British military forces, but in European Parliament that we might have already that Elizabeth II, that is daughter of God, from local patriotism of Utah and Utah, from Nazism of Britain in Britain. But towards this unification with Jesus Christ in European Union, it needs to be a bow. So we need to have there some sort of change from this Anglican worship that we all brought to progress only if we are Anglicans because of that situation. And we can only, seemingly, it seems so really, we can really to have an only if we speak English language and if we're trying to perfect English people. So that's where I want, therefore, that we have here somewhat of attention to Salt Lake City, that we might see who Elizabeth II or Queen Moses Majesty II is, that she's really sentinel or satellite of Mormons of Utah. Many was disagreeing that it is not so. How could reality be any sort of instrument in the hands of any Mormons? But it is really so. Just check the history. Last 183 years of general conferences in Church of Jesus Christ Latter Saints. Mormons, they are really experts for lies, so they are Mormons too. And they are hormones, they're interpersonal, so they can lie a long time to people that it is not true that Great Britain is much more glorious than America, much more glorious than Utah. But who's got to New York? Who was throwing those towers down? Who was attacking Pentagon by Islam? Was it really American president? Was it FBI? Who's got American president? Who's got the FBI? Now I'm sure that you now recognize that it was really these war criminals of Utah that are perfectly protected. All the other cities and countries were bombarded and attacked, or many of them, those most important capitals. And one capital that is Salt Lake City was really glorified only. It is a city that is described by John 2, transparent glass and the waters of life and tree of life and many of other qualities that are so easy to find. So I believe that we need to unite, we need to work on to use the name of God appropriately, not in vain as the dead Hinckley that is decomposed and lazy blasphemy is laying down under drain. But we need to be as Jesus Christ translated terms we ascend to heaven. Yeah, I mean Jesus Christ was not decomposed. If he had an nap because he was deciding crucifixion, so we need to say that we're absolutely forgiving Jesus. We know that Jesus got the authority to forgive us. It is really only Jesus that has got the authority to forgive us. And if we love Jesus Christ, that was begotten in Nazareth as only begotten flesh and born in Bethlehem as King of Kings, Lord of Lords, above all, Jesus Christ, he's got the authority for us to be forgiven. He can forgive us and we can ascend to heaven. And his free agency is holiness to us, and we therefore can have that granted. We don't need to bring any atonement. That Jesus Christ brought the end to any atonement. Last sacrifice was already brought, therefore we can appreciate Thomas Fitzmaurice for that, what he did good. Now this book of Mammon that we have in musical in Prince of Wales Theatre, was happening that the Family History Center from Hyde Park Chapel was moved to National Archives in Kew Gardens in London, and the Book of Mormon. So we have two visitor centers now, also at the Lone Temple and also in Hyde Park Chapel. And I would appreciate that not only chastity will be emphasized as important in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but also kindness. Because if I am attacked physically each time as I come to church, and not only verbally, but also verbally each time I come to church, it is far not as easy for me to be most calm and most perfect as if I was really experiencing kindness by thought, word, and indeed. Come to church and now security with the local high priest, director of this center, attacking or dismissing me. So that's really not appropriate behavior of President Monson. We need to ask the President Monson to repent. So something was good with President Monson. Something was absolutely terrifying and horrible. So we hope that President Thomas Swanson will now turn to praise Jesus Christ and to sing himself too, that he will not prohibit us interpersonally and outerpersonally, the singings and the glories that we need, but that we might have here somewhat more of glories. So I have selected also one hymn to sing, so we might have some more glory. EFI would like to have music and text that helps us to ascend to heaven and helps us to appreciate those translated beings that are already in heaven now. Those who will later ascend, let them therefore be placed as they already ascend, as our examples set those who are already in heaven, so we may ascend to heaven. And that's repentance from sins of Thomas Moses. Now, Thomas Moses was ever in primary of the Church of Jesus Christ as well as saint. Now he's already president of his presidency. So let us all primary children and all youth join. Let us sing one of our hymns in the Church of Jesus Christ as well as saints that has been made on motives of the glorious scripture that was recorded by John the Evangelist, and it's recorded in Gospel of Ascension, chapter 13, verses approximately 33 to 35. And his name, love one another, and I'll sing to you now. As I have loved you, love one another. This new commandment, love one another. By this shall men know that ye are my disciples, if you have loved one to another. Brothers and sisters, we remind chastity, let us think rather retention, as we have systems announced that we ought to use, and chastity is perfect order, appreciating birth to wedding, marriage, is the way. How can we ascend to heaven? So let us believe the wedding of the Lord will happen. I look forward to ascend not immediately, but all judges, please be wise that also marriage couples can ascend, and they don't have to be 365 years of age, and they will be out of chaste. Retention, yes, chastity, but not as a tool of tyranny of any African king that reigneth over the Whitechapel Ward, or any of the African lords that is sort of incorporated into the hyperstate leadership of the hyperstate presidency. So we need to, now in London, in London Temple District, London Mission, in England, in Europe, Central West area that is situated in Frankfurt, in a Church of Jesus Christ of Palestine that is got heavenly, from highest heaven, leadership of Jesus Christ in Salt Lake City. Let us understand that we need to repent also from the sins of wicked leaders, and we need to see that if they want to die, they are unworthy to preside and they need to be dismissed from presidency. They might be dismissed with honor, with the blessing, but I rather to sing, Lord, receive us with a blessing as the Lord dismisses with a blessing. So that's what we think of Jesus Christ, that Jesus will receive us to highest heaven with a blessing, and that is a worthy hymn to sing at General Conference. While dismissals, that's what Hinckley had on his dad, and that's what Justin's had and received a bullet in the face because of their rudeness, that he as first president of first presidency was no more choosing himself the first president presidency, but was omitting and committing, was not mentioning Mr. Neville Sabaksho as the most important disciple of Jesus Christ that need to be redone. Doctrine and Covenants of Jesus Christ need to be redone, and you all will have some more love. I'm promising to you that we check statistics and we will be better to one another, better to God with all our heart, mind, and strength, and better to our neighbors, even as to ourselves, as we love God first. Therefore, we are really good to one another. Now, this is God's melody. God be with us till we meet again. In the name of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ, and by the authority of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ, we dedicate this video to the Most High Elohim, Most High Yahweh, our Most High God that is in highest heaven, and also to all those most glorious and most peaceable and most glorious disciples of Supreme Lord Jesus Christ. We love and we will overcome to ascend, and we need help one another. So I thank you for your help. And it doesn't necessarily mean that thank you online. Thank you online too. So, love, bye.